And welcome in. This is Julie Max in the Main Stamper. I'm here for your Thursday at 3, and Thursday at 3 usually means a fun fold. And we're back to fun folds today. If you joined me last Thursday, I actually did an unboxing. That was so much fun for me. That went really long. Thursday at 3 is typically meant to be a 15 to 20 minute video live and then recorded, and then it's a video, but it's typically a fun fold, and I usually follow the theme of the week. So my Monday class this week was with the Darling Details bundle, which has been really fun. We've been enjoying that all week. I share all kinds of information on my Facebook page about Darling Details, and then today we're doing a fun fold. Now, if you're on my email newsletter list, you've got this card recipe in your newsletter today. So it's called the Top Lift Fun Fold. So as I hold it from the side here a little bit, you can see there is some movement. If you just look at it like this, you're thinking, well, what's so fun about this card, right? But you have to actually lift up the top to open up the card. I'll hold that down a little bit. So that's how this one works. And this is vellum, so it's super, super pretty. Of course, we have all the Darling Details on here too. And we're gonna put this one together. So I'm going to be popping over. Hi, Carrie. So nice to see you on here. And Rhonda, I'm going to pop over to my workspace. We're going to get working on this card. Please continue to say hi as you jump on. I'd love to know who's watching. And let me get you over there so we can talk about all the products today. So again, this is called the Top Lift Fun Fold card. Now, if you have my email newsletter, this is the card recipe. I do a full sheet. It's an 8.5 by 11. Print it up on your computer paper, right? It's got some great pictures in here. It's got the recipe, which has all the directions on the measurements. It's got the supplies that I used, and then it has the directions. Obviously, you can use whatever supplies you have at home. It doesn't have to look exactly like this. You may be looking at this beautiful paper, and going, wow, what paper is that? Because I know it's shiny and fun. And look at the backside. I absolutely adore this. Now, if you did see my unboxing last week, this is from the new paper pack coming up in the annual, the mini catalog, I'm sorry, All About Autumn specialty paper. This is 6x6 specialty paper. It has some really great, beautiful, gorgeous prints on it, right? So I pulled out from this paper pack today. And if you love these papers, I am doing a paper and ribbon share. You can ask me for more information if you want to know about my paper and ribbon share from the upcoming fall mini catalog. So this is the backside. The backside is just as lovely. So, but we are using a 4 by 5 1/4. We're covering it with the pretty paper right here. Now, the Darling Details, an amazing bundle. Two-step stamping here, actually, and I just discovered that these 3 leaves go together. I don't know where my light bulb moment came in, but when I was looking at this on Monday, I was talking about how Christmassy and pine needly this was. This actually can go into this leaf as two-step stamping, and then these two can be used together. So really great, amazing photopolymer stamps, tons of dies, right, with our Darling Details. This was my card class on Monday. We did this beautiful card right here, and we jumped into this. Oh, this one was like everyone's favorite. This was my favorite, I should say. I did a color swap on Wednesday over on Positive Paper Crafters, and I asked, which one do you like better? Because I change up the colors. And then I also did this sweet little number right here with a little bit of a crooked panel on it. So these are the cards from this week's card class. If you love them, you can still qualify to get 6 of those cards, the card kits at home this week with an order using my weekly host code. All right, we're going to jump into this card now. So I am using a thick white base, and I do have the 4 by 5 1/4 cup panel. I have some inside things already cut as well, but let's do our scoring so I can get my trimmer off the table here. So this vellum is gorgeous. It may be harder to see here than it is on the card, but this comes from the specialty vellum. It's called Basics, Vellum Basics, but it is specialty vellum. This vellum has been in the annual catalog for a while. It has the leafy design that I'm using. It's got polka dots and stripes. I love the leaf. The leaf is my favorite. So this piece is actually 3.5 by 8.5. So it's an odd size shape. It's an odd size. That's what I'm going to go with. It's just odd, but we're going to score it at 5 1/8. So we're going to score this right now at 5 1/8. And when you put this in your trimmer, I just want you to remember that vellum is really delicate. So you don't want to go too hard when you do. We're doing 5 1/8. So I'm going to go to 5 1/8 before I forget where I'm at. 5 1/8. So you don't want to score it too harshly with your score blade, or you're going to rip it right like you're going to just rip it. And there is really not a front or back that I can tell on this vellum. So don't stress over trying to figure out which way goes which. But I'm also not going to, I'm going to bend it, but I'm not going to I'm not going to bring out my bone folder. I'm just going to gently kind of press on here a little bit with my finger. I don't want the crease to be super crisp, right? But it is, and I'm going to put this way. I think maybe you'll be able to see one side obviously is much longer than the other. That is by design, because it is going to go in here and it's going to come down the long way this way. So we're going to bring in our card base. I do have all kinds of stuff in here. So this is kind of surprising, right? So inside our card base, which is white, again, a white card base, you could probably use any color you want, but we're putting on a white card base a colorful inside insert. So this, again, 4 by 5 1/4, your first layering mat here. And it seems just counterproductive, right? To put a dark color mat in a white card. Normally when you have a white card, you're like, woohoo, I don't need to put an insert in. I'm good to go. In this instance, we're actually adding a dark insert, and it does add a lot of interest too. So we're going to bring in this lovely little folded piece of vellum, and when we put this on next, we want to keep this crease right here at the top, just above the top, actually, just above the top of our card fold here, because as I line this up, you can kind of almost feel that little edge sit along the white edge here, because this has to fold over and be on the front. So eventually it's going to be on the front like this. So you have to have it up high enough. You have to have this crease up high enough so that it comes up and over. Okay, now we're going to glue it. So I'm just going to put glue right in the middle, because I know that I'm going to be putting another white paper right over top of it. This is where you have to line it up side to side and make sure that you get your crease above the white top of the card front. Actually, this would be the inside of the card. All right, so I'm just going to try to like make sure this is going to close. It's going to come down on here and it's even. This is the hardest part, actually, is getting this to be even. I struggled with it a little bit when I made my original one, because you know, I want it to be as even as possible, and then even on the inside doesn't always measure even on the outside, but I think we're pretty good there. We're going to go with that. So you can see that it comes up and over this top. If I can open my card again, challenges. Actually, I can't open my card without opening this, but you can see that it's going to come up and over, and that's exactly where we want it. Now this glue on the inside, no worries. We're going to actually be putting our inside sentiment on this white piece of paper. I'm doing Cajun Craze because I felt like my designer paper was quite Cajun-y, and I absolutely adore this particular stamp set. I read these images from the stamp set on Monday when I did my class, and this one says, "Count me among all the people who are here for you," and I talked about how much I loved this sentiment. There was a sentiment in there that I was not a fan of. I'm not going to talk about that one again, but anyway, it's going to come on here. If you haven't seen the sentiments yet, definitely check them out. I would love to know if there's any there that you don't particularly like as much as the others. So this is just going to get centered here, and I'm basically centering it on the left, right, and bottom, because it's not going to quite need to be centered up here at the top. We have like a little bit of a different top going. This is a fun fold, so it can't be all symmetrical all the time, right? But there's the inside done, and now we have this part done. So we can actually bring in our fancy paper and glue this down as well. So this is just going to go right here on the front of our card. And again, we're kind of centering this layer, just our basic layer, right? Look how pretty it already is. Isn't this gorgeous? Absolutely love it. So when it's, you know, when it comes down like this, it will, the flowers and all these good things are going to help to hold this down a little bit. A secret that I did was I actually put a tiny little glue dot on the vellum right here, and I tried to make it not too sticky. And this paper has that nice little bit of foil in it. So this, again, has a little bit of a resistance to the glue dot. So it just helped, when I was taking pictures of it, it just helped to hold this shut without being too, you know, too flappy. So if this really bothers you, you could put a little glue dot on there. The vellum is perfect for that spot. All right, we're going to move on to decorations. Now I did a bunch of die cutting and stamping ahead of time because I didn't want this to be a super long procedure here. So obviously we're just using imagery from our stamp set, and we're using all kinds of fall colors because I really wanted to do some fall colors this time. So we have from the stamp set, and of course the coordinating dies. It just makes it so nice, right? I used two-step stamping for the biggest flower, and I did one in Moody Mauve, so you can see it right there. I did this leaf right here in Mossy Meadow, and I'm using tone on tone ink, so I'm using cardstock with colorful ink, and I like this because then I don't have the white surround. I wanted it to be colorful without seeing that it was stamped on white paper and there was a white surround to it. I did the little half flower here twice in pumpkin pie, so this is pumpkin pie ink with pumpkin pie cardstock. I did this little sprig right here, I'm calling this a sprig, in yellow. And this is crushed curry ink with crushed curry, so I've got two of those. The directions tell you that you're just using scraps for these. Now there's no stamp for this. This is just one of those bonus dies. So I did two of these little sprigs. They're kind of open leaf sprigs, and I did those in Early Espresso. So that gives you an idea of what all of these fancy bits on our card are. And then I have in the directions, you have 2 1 by 3.5 of the Cajun Craze. Now one of these is for the sentiment. So that's going to layer together for our sentiment right here. This one I die cut with the long die that looks like this, right? So it's extra long. And when I lined this up, I actually lined this up to the bottom. And I centered my little fancy ruffles here. I tried to center them. Let's go with that. I tried to center them, but I kept the ruffles to the bottom, and I kept this up here at the top. Doesn't have any die cutting yet at all, and it gives you a nice little edge. It kind of gives you a little seam-like look here, and it's totally different from, let's see, what card did I use that on before? I used that on this card actually. So on this card you can see the difference in size. This is the Berry Burst color. So if you're just die cutting it to the top, so on this one I put my paper, my die went to the top of my paper. And it makes your die this, it makes your cardstock this size. If you want to make it a little bit taller, you just use taller paper. Now I could have used a 3-inch piece of paper, right? And I could have cut it up here. Nope, I'm incorrect. I could have cut it down here at the bottom, and my ruffles would be here, and I would have all of this paper on top, so I could have a larger piece of paper. So you can cut this in strips. You can be as small as, this is like 3/4 inch. This is a 1-inch piece of paper, and then you can get bigger, and you can get more creative with this actually. You can, you know, die cut that and have a whole bunch of paper up top. So I just wanted to point that out to you as I was playing with it. I discovered different ways that this can be used. So we are going to, with all that being said, I move aside the card we don't need. We're going to start decorating the outside of our panel here with the very beautiful vellum. So I'm just going to put some adhesive here along that top strip. And this is why I wanted this extra bit here, because I wanted it to hang down past the vellum. So I lined up the strip here, and I basically lined up where it's straight across and side to side here. So the little scallops are longer than the vellum, but the strip has a good space to come onto. So you can see this much is adhered to the vellum, and then the rest of it hangs off the side. So I thought that would be really nice. It gives it a little bit of an easier way to fold this up too. So I like that little strip on there. I thought that was super cute and clever. Now we are going to do some really cute decorating here. We're going to be floral arrangers, right? We're florists today. That's what we're doing. We're being florists. And I actually just glued these down. So I started with my 2 little espresso sprigs, and I'm just going to put a little bit of glue toward the bottom. And a lot of this gets covered up with other elements, so I'm not too worried about the glue smushing off of these little open holes. And I'm not too worried about not enough adhesive to hold these down, because as you can see, we're going to be putting a lot of other elements on here right over top, and they're going to help to secure this. So the hard part right here is sticky fingers. So as you're gluing and you're touching and you're getting sticky fingers everywhere, that could be the hardest part of this. Now we're going to bring in our little beautiful mossy meadow. So I'm just going to kind of layer these, and I play with them and dry fit a little bit as I go, but this is about how I set these up. And of course, at the beginning, as you're doing your floral arranging and you're adding a lot of leaves and greens, it looks weird. At the very beginning, it looks so odd. It's like, what am I doing, right? None of these things kind of go together cohesively, but in the end, it is fancy. And in the end, it should never look exactly the same as maybe the one you did before that, because no two should ever be perfectly alike. These are handmade cards, right? We are hand making our cards. So you can kind of see here where I've got my leaves lined up. Now I'm going to bring in the little orange. I'm calling these half flowers. I've been calling these half flowers, and I'm going to line them up right about there. I'm doing this with the intention in mind that I'm going to be putting this nice purpley flower here, and it's going to cover up this center. So I'm not worried about the center yet. I'm just adding things to my little arrangement here. So these little pumpkin pie half flowers are going to go on next. And then from there, we're going to add in our crushed curry flowers. So again, I'm just going to do maybe the bottom little bits of this one. I'm not going to adhere the entire thing. I like there to be some movement in the card too, so I'm not worried about securing this for C. That's what I'm going to say. I'm not securing it for C. I'm just making a nice card here that has a little bit of movement to it. Okay, so now we have the big spot here in the middle, right? And when I add this last one, and I did not use a dimensional, I just glued it down. So if you wanted to add a dimensional in to puff this one up a little bit, you sure could, but I'm just going to glue this down. I'm just going to play with that for a minute and see. Yep, I like it right there. It's beautiful. It covers the hole that I left, so I left that little hole on purpose, right? So we can get that covered up at the end. So there's our floral arrangement lesson, and now we're going to do the sentiment on the front. I just chose friend. Because I felt like that one worked best with our count me among all the people who are here for you. Of course, you could add other items in here too, and the friend just fit really nicely here as well. And I left it a little bit toward the right because I didn't think it quite needed to be centered on here. I'm just going to adhere this down to my Cajun mat here. I'm going to flip this over and just make sure that's pressed nicely. And then we're going to actually add this to our card with dimensionals. Because this is kind of springy and thicker, we needed to have, if I put this on flat, it might not look as beautiful, right? So I thought we could probably put some dimensionals on here, and then this bottom part would have a little bit of something that has lift as well. And I think lift is in the name of this card, Top Lift Fun Fold card. How fun is this, right? This card was inspired by Lisa Curcio, another Stampin' Up demonstrator, and she did an entirely different card maybe 2 or 3 years ago with this design, and I just transferred this design over to something that I had on hand, which is what I wanted to show you today, so share with you today. So you've got the Top Lift Fun Fold card. Isn't that gorgeous? And of course the vellum on the inside leaves that nice little ring. Oh, bling! Speaking of bling bling, we need to add bling. You can see that my flowers are very boring without bling, right? So I brought in some of these 2325 in color matte, I think they're called matte dots. And I'm just going to put a few of these on here right in the center of this big flower. This big flower, because it just seems so plain after everything else looks so fancy on this card, it definitely needed some bling in it. So I chose something that was similar in color so that it wouldn't be too blaringly obvious, right? But here is my little fancy fun fold card. Isn't that gorgeous? And you can see in the light the shine to it. I absolutely adore this. This is just a really beautiful card. Really happy with how this one came together. So thanks for watching this fun fold on a Thursday. I'm just checking to see. Carrie has this question, a good question. Do I have a special glue for vellum? I do not. So Carrie, I always hide my adhesive on a vellum with anything. It can be an embellishment, it could be a flower, it could be a sentiment. Sometimes I will wrap the vellum around a layer and tuck it, so securing it in the back, leaving the front all open. I have seen I forget which company. I have seen vellum tape, and I have used that in the past. Even vellum tape shows a little bit with the vellum, so it's really hard to hide that adhesive if you don't cover it up with something. So my best advice is to cover it up with something for sure. Just add another layer. You can get super creative with vellum. And I love it. I love to use vellum. All right. So hi, Michelle. Better late than never. Rhonda says it's pretty. Jackie likes that we're doing, yeah, fall colors. This is my first card with a little bit of a fall color pattern, right? I am ready to jump in. Next week, my Monday class, we're going to be doing something with leaves. So make sure you come back and check it out on Monday at 8 o'clock. We're going to have a whole week full of leaves as we're getting into the last bit of August. It's amazing. So thank you for sharing some time with me today. I really appreciate it. If you have any other questions on this card or paper crafting in general, please reach out. I'm happy to help. And until next time, everyone, stay inspired, create something beautiful, and share the love. Bye.